So in this for loop, one question was remaining on that assignment, which was you were supposed to create Fibonacci series. Now by definition, Fibonacci series, or you can say Fibonacci sequence, let's say the initial term of Fibonacci series is, let's say it is 0. Next term I will give you, it is 1. Now after this first initial two terms, the next term of this sequence, I will write the definition of Fibonacci series is next term of sequence is sum of preceding two terms. That means आपको एक sequence create करना है. You have to create a sequence, and the nth term of this sequence, more specifically I will say nth term of this sequence is actually sum of n minus 1th term plus n minus 2th term. And I have given you first two terms of this sequence, which is 0 and 1. So can you tell me what will be the next term of this sequence?
1.
1.
One.
Very good. Next term?
2.
Two.
Next term?
3.
4.
3.
4 or 3?
3.
3.
sir.
Next term?
5.
5.
5.
8,
പൊറാട്ട ഉണ്ടല്ലോ
30, 21, 34, something like this, right? So each term, please mute yourself if you are not talking.
കറി ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ
So each term in this sequence will be the sum
Yes.
of
Why is
preceding.
not coming clearly?
Someone mic is on. Please mute your mic.
929 Rahul TP.
Rahul, you have to mute your mic. Okay. So in this way, you can generate a Fibonacci sequence. But yes, in this particular case, I have given you first two terms. It does not necessarily start from 0 to 1. Okay. Let's say in any sequence, let's say they have given you first two terms as 2 and 3. Then it will start with the next term will be 5, 8, and so on. So yes, depending on the first two terms, this Fibonacci sequence can be changed. Now you have to generate this Fibonacci sequence with the help of a for loop. You can generate this Fibonacci sequence with the help of for loop. So how we can do this? Suppose I want to generate this sequence up to nth term, which is user defined. So I will just write cout enter term up to which you want to generate Fibonacci sequence. Right, and you just enter this in cin to a variable n. Now what you will do is you can make a for loop for I is equal to, let's say, 1, 2. I will modify this for loop, but in starting I am just taking this I is equal to 1 to I equal to n less than n, and in each term I am increasing this I by I. So I'm generating n number of iterations with the help of this variable I. Now what I will do is, let's say I will generate. Okay, first I will, before this I will assign, I will initialize two variables with first two terms. These first two terms I have to define before the for loop. So this a I am defining as 0, this b I am defining as 1. Now what I will do is I will generate next term. Let's say that next term is c, and I am writing in the body of for loop, I am writing c is equal to a plus b, right? A was the first term, b was the second term. I have generated this third term c, which by the definition of Fibonacci sequence will be equal to a plus b, first term and second term. Summation of first term and second term will give you third term. But now the problem is, in the next iteration of this for loop, value of a and b will remain same, hence value of c will remain also same. So in each iteration, in each next iterations, I have to reallocate the values of n minus 1th term and n minus 2th term. So let's say if I write b should be given to variable a, then what does this mean? Actually, what this statement will do, it will assign the value of b, it will assign the present value of b to variable a. That means I am giving n minus 1th value to n minus 2th variable. And suppose if I write b is equal to c, if I write b is equal to c, then what will happen? This third term will be stored into second variable. The second variable is now stored in first variable. This third variable is stored into the second variable. So basically what I am doing is I am shifting my n minus 2. See, initially this term was n minus 2, this term was n minus 1, and this term was n, and I have calculated this n term with the help of this expression. But now in next iteration, what I have done is I have given the value of b to a. So this value will become now n minus 2, and this value 1 will now become n minus 1. And with the help of these values, in second iteration, with the help of these new values n minus 2 and n minus 1, it will generate, with the help of the same expression, it will generate next term. Again, after generating next term, it will allot the value contained in variable b to variable a. So in third iteration, I can say in third iteration, it will become, this term will become n minus 2, and this term will become n minus 1. And hence, with the help of this 1 and 2, that is n minus 2 and n minus 1 in third iteration, it can generate next value n. So it will generate up to n terms. So it will generate up to n terms with the help of just this. But yes, the cout which you have to take should be before this expression, or even in this case you can see it can be here also. Cout c end line. Okay, cout c end line. Then you can see, okay, I will write here in first iteration. Okay, before first iteration it will print a and 0. cout ले लो यहीं पे, cout a end line, cout b end line. It will print before the for loop, it will print 0 1. In first iteration, it will give you the value of C, C out C, which is 1 in first iteration. In second iteration, it will print the value of C, which will become 2 now. In third iteration, it will give 3. In fourth iteration, it will give 4. Okay. Now, but you can see this particular program is actually generating n number of terms after this 0 and 1 number. So basically, this for loop will generate n terms, and first and second terms we have printed before the for loop. So this whole program will generate n plus 2 terms, but we were supposed to generate this Fibonacci sequence up to only nth term. So what you can do is, can anyone tell me what we can do in this particular case? 2 टर्म्स तो पहले ही जनरेट हो जाती है, उसके बाद फॉर लूप n टर्म्स और जनरेट कर देता है, तो टोटल n plus 2 टर्म्स जनरेट हो जाती है, बट हमें तो करनी थी n टर्म्स ही. कैन यू स्टॉप दिस फॉर लूप I less than equal to
n minus 2.
Excellent. So this, if I write I less than equal to n minus 2, then yes, these first 2 terms which are outside the for loop will also contribute to the n terms, right? So एक बार जल्दी से इसका प्रोग्राम बना के देख लेते हैं. एक प्रोग्राम इसका, यही सेम प्रोग्राम उस पे भी बना के देख लेते हैं. यू हैव टू हेल्प मी, बिकॉज ये फॉन्ट फॉर्मेट मेरे को पूरा एग्जैक्टली ध्यान नहीं रहता है. Okay. In this way, you can create any sequence. But see, in this program, the whole logic behind this program was these 3 lines. These 3 lines. And with the help of these 3 lines, with the modifications in this particular logic, you can generate any sequence. You can generate arithmetic progression, you can generate geometric progression, harmonic progression, Fibonacci sequence, and many more. You can generate sequence by these type of logics. Okay, तो जल्दी से बताइए मेरे को क्या क्या करना है. We will take some variables, all of integer type, int a, b, c, d, right? n भी ले लेते हैं, n. I will initialize variable a with 0, variable b with 1, right? And I will just print these first 2 terms of Fibonacci sequence like this. 0. Okay, write the content of a instead, and line C out b and line. Okay, so till now what we have done is we have printed both the first 2 terms of this. Okay, now I will write this C out. Right, and I will take C in into variable n. Okay, now I will start with my for loop. For I is equal to 1 to I less than equal to n. I will, for this time I will take just n, then we will change to n minus 2. I plus plus this I will write C is equal to A plus B, and then I will assign the value of B to A, and that can be done by this expression. A is equal to B. Right hand side value will be stored into the left hand side variable. Similarly, I will assign the value of C to variable B, which can be done by B is equal to C. Okay, and I will take print of this value C. And I will change the line, of course. For after each iteration, I want to change the line. Okay, so let's see what will happen if I run this program.
Sir, I is not initialized.
Yes, okay, so I will define I also. We do not require to initialize the value of I, but yes, we have to define the value of we have to define the variable I. Okay, so if I run this program, we will show some errors, which is in second line. Okay, yeah, so okay, yes, cout A and L. Cout was not declared in this in scope, so I will write using
namespace.
namespace std. Okay, now I will run. Okay, 01, it is printing actually before this, before taking this n. So I will again, I will stop this program. I will print this cout A and cout B after this n. Okay, that will be more better way to print this. So if I run this, it will directly ask me enter terms up to which you want to generate Fibonacci sequence. So let's say I just want to generate Fibonacci sequence up to term 6. Okay, and if I press enter, then you will see now it is 0 1 1 2 3 5 8 13. So yes, it is generating Fibonacci sequence. ऐसे ही होता था ना, you can see each term is sum of previous two terms, but now the number of terms in this sequence is 2 4 6 8. Now number of terms is 8, but I have entered up to 6. So for that, I have to move my variable I up to n minus 2. These things you have to understand. If for how much iteration I have to create. So if I run this program again, and if I press 6, then it will show Fibonacci sequence up to 6 terms. Right? If I run this program again and I write 20 up to 26, then it will also run. You can see there will be total 20 terms, and it is changing something like this. Right? In the similar way, you can also find the sum of this Fibonacci series by using another variable. Let's say if I initialize a variable sum by 0, and in each term if I write sum is equal to sum plus c, sum is equal to sum plus c. Okay, let's do it. If I initialize a variable by 0, and I just after this I want to calculate this sum of each term. Okay, now I have to print the value of this sum variable. So whether I have to write inside the body of for loop or outside the body of for loop, tell me. Where should I write some cout sum?
Out.
Outside the body.
Outside.
So I will just write cout sum of generated sequence is sum. Okay, so if I run this program, it will, if I press 7, it will generate the sequence as well as it will give you the sum of the generated sequence. 8 plus 5 is 13, 13 3 16, 16 2 18. It should be 20th. Okay, can you tell me what is the, okay, well, that one, the value of b it was not taking, so instead I should write sum plus 1 to include the value of b also, to include the value of b also in the sum. So if I run this, it will give me this 20th. Okay, now it is fine. 1 and 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 4, 4 plus 3 7, 7 plus 5 12, 12 plus 8 is 20. Okay, fine. So in this manner you can generate these type of sequences. You can generate, of course you can generate arithmetic progressions, geometric progressions, and all these type of sequences if you know the relation between the nth term and n minus 1th term, or so. Okay, so next thing in this was, for all of these programs you are also supposed to make flowchart.
For all questions, sir.
Yes, for all questions. For all questions you have to make flowcharts. So what do you mean by a flowchart? Actually, see, I will say flowchart is an illustration of logic or logics used to solve a particular problem. These flowcharts are not language dependent. This thing you have to understand. These flowcharts are not language dependent. Okay, so in practice, if you want to solve any problem, first of all you will make a flowchart. That flowchart will define the logics which you will be using to solve that particular problem. Okay, and yes, of course this flowchart should be language independent. Whether you are using C++ language to solve that problem, whether you are using Java, whether you are using Fortran, the flowchart will always work with a single flowchart of a problem, will always, of a solution, will always work with all the, should always work with all the languages. So flowchart is more basic than your language, you can say. Okay, so this actually gives you an illustration how you actually want to solve, how actually you are solving that particular problem. These flowcharts have various, you can say, components, and these components are actually common for all the languages. So first thing is, I will give you some examples of this flowchart, how you can make flowchart and how they will be helpful for explaining the logics you are using to solve that particular problem. But let's say first component of these flowcharts are oval. Oval are something like this, and these pictures, these symbols actually denotes various functions you are using in your logics, various tasks you are using in your logics. So this oval shape symbol will represent start or end of a program. ये प्रोग्राम मेरा जो है वो इस पॉइंट से स्टार्ट होता है और इस पॉइंट पे एंड होता है. Another thing is parallelogram. Something like this. So parallelogram actually are used for input and output operations. If you want to take input from the user and if you want to give output to the screen or to the user, then these type of parallelogram symbols are used. I will say input and output operations. Okay. Then another symbol which we will be using in this flow chart is rectangle. Right? And these rectangles are actually used for processing. Whether it is an arithmetic operation or any type of operation, these operations I will write in this rectangles. This processing I will write in rectangles. Another important symbol used in this flow chart is diamond, which is something like this. Okay. And these diamonds are used for decision making. For decision making. For example, in any program, suppose you have to decide at a particular point, you have to decide if I have to go this way or I have to go this way. You will see, I will give you example of all these components, how, when and how we will use these components for some problems. And last but not least, the most important thing is this flow line, which is just like this. This flow line represent, you can say, direction. This flow line represent direction of compilation, in which way your program is being compiled, in which direction your program is being compiled. So you have to just, these are very basic components. There are some more components, but let's say we will work with only these. और अगर जरूरत पड़ेगा तो I will explain other components also. So let's say the simplest example of a flow chart I will give you. Suppose you want to find sum of two numbers. You want to find sum of two numbers. User defined two numbers. You want to find sum of user defined two numbers. So what you will do is, first, for making the making the flow chart of this, I will start my program. I will write start. Then I will take input from the user, and taking input is represented by parallelogram. Input A, B. Then I will write in parallelogram, in rectangle, I will write C is equal to A plus B. Then again I will give output of this C. Again, input output operations are being shown in these parallelograms. So I will write output, or I can say I will write display C, and then after this I will end my program. And the most important, I have to make arrows in these flow lines. I have to make arrows instead of these flow lines. So this flow chart, you can see, does not contain any keywords of C++ language. This flow chart actually does not contain any keywords of C++ language. Neither I am writing C out, neither I am writing C in, or neither I am writing any specific keywords to the language. But yes, based on this flowchart, if you want to solve the same problem in language Java, in language Fortran, then if you show this flowchart to a person which is expert in Fortran, then he or she will use his own keyword to make the same program, okay, in that particular language. So yes, based on this, flowchart should be language independent, and they should basically give you an idea about the logics you are using, about these logics actually you are using to solve a particular problem, right? Now suppose, okay, एक for loop का देखते हैं जिसमें एक्सप्रेशन, इसमें डिसीजन मेकिंग की जरूरत हो. Suppose in one question I have told you you are supposed to find factorial of a number. To find factorial of a number. For this, I can make my flowchart like this. I will start the program by writing start in oval. I will define a variable. If you recall this, if you remember that program, I have defined the variable factorial by 1. That I have to write. That initialization of any variable I have to write in this type of rectangle box. Then I will take input from the user up to which number you want to find factorial. I will write this in parallelogram, input n, let's say. Then again I will, now I am not telling you I am using for loop, but what I am doing is I am taking a variable and I am initializing it with 1, right? And after this I am somehow, even with the for loop, even with the while loop, even with the if loop, that doesn't matter, but I am somehow changing the variable of value of this variable I. Okay, we will go back to that, but let's say I have made a diamond here, and inside this diamond I have written I less than equal to n. So for this diamond, it will first check the value of I, whether it is less than or greater than n. There will be two conditions, whether I will be less than equal to n or whether I will be greater than n. For both conditions, I will write, if this condition is false, I will make a flow line. Okay, I will make a flow line. Now this arrow will signify very much information. For this, if this is false, I have to write this condition above this flow line. If I less than equal to n is false, then I just have to display, okay, then I will do something else. Otherwise, if it is true, there can be only two possibilities for this diamond. On this diamond, there can be only two possibilities. There can be only two ways which my compiler will go. If I is less than equal to n is false, then it will go to this line, to this way. Or if I is less than equal to n is true, then it will go this way. Now, if this condition is true, I will make a arithmetic, I will perform a arithmetic operation, which is this variable factorial will be equal to factorial into I. This variable factorial will be equal to factorial into I. This factorial will be equal to factorial into I. And after doing this, factorial is equal to factorial into I. After doing this, what it will do? It will increase the value of I by 1. It will increase the value of I by 1. I will write I plus plus. And it will go back to this condition. Right? Then again, this diamond, as the compiler crosses this diamond, again it will check whether I is less than equal to n or not. If it is true, it will again go into this loop. Now I will say a word, it will again go back into this loop. It will continuously move, the compiler will continuously move into this loop of this flowchart as long as this condition is true. But suppose this condition got false at some particular point, at some particular value of I, because you can see the value of I is changing in each iteration, in each step. Okay, now as soon as this condition becomes false, it will, what it should do, it should display the value of factorial. Display factorial. After completing the loops, after completing the iterations, whenever this condition, whenever this diamond condition becomes false, it will come outside this loop and it will display the factorial variable. And then after displaying this factorial variable, it should stop. Then it should stop. Right? So this basically, this type of flowchart you have to make. For loop, for any loops, even if for if loop, for loop and while loop, for all the three loop statement, you will see there will be a closed circuit in the, you can say there will be a closed circuit in these type of flowcharts. And then after a particular condition becomes false, it will came outside that loop. It will came outside that loop, and then there will be a stop sign at the last. So this actually represent how you can make flowcharts. So if I go again to my okay, let's see, you have to make a flowchart of question number 3. Make a program to print a number 10. Okay, ये तो ज़्यादा easy हो जाएगा. Print the sequence of numbers starting from 1 to 10. Each number should be in different line. So they are asking specifically to each number should be in different line, and you have to print the sequence of numbers starting from 1 to 10. Okay, so I will make a flow chart for this. I will start my program. I will define a variable, let's say n is equal to 10. I will define a variable I with 1. Then for I less than equal to n, or you can say directly n is equal to I less than equal to 10. फिर ये नहीं करना था. False, true. If this condition is true, then what I have to do is I have to display I, right? And after displaying this I will increase the value of I by 1. I plus plus, and it will go back to diamond. It will go back to condition. So whenever this condition becomes false, it will come outside this loop it will come outside this loop, and then just simply I have to end my program. I will write end. And of course, okay, I can write also after display I can write change line also. Change line. Now big, I can write change line. So again, you can see this particular flowchart is language independent. Anyone who is working with any language, after seeing this flowchart, can make a similar program of having same output with the help of their keywords. The help of their keywords which are being specifically used for that particular language. Even for your honors course, you will see in third semester you will be having Fortran language. Okay, keep your all these files with you. With the help of same flowcharts and with the help of knowledge of keywords used in this Fortran language, you can make similar programs having same output in the Fortran language also.